The night was unforgiving. Rain hammered against the earth with a fury that shook the ground. Lightning cracked across the sky, illuminating streets swallowed by shadows. Beneath a broken shelter, a small figure shivered. A puppy, drenched and weak, barely able to lift his head. His body trembled with hunger. His stomach growled, but there was nothing left to eat. His eyes reflected the cold world, a world that seemed to have abandoned him. Every raindrop that struck his fragile skin felt like a reminder of how close he was to giving up. He closed his eyes, his breath shallow. His body curled in a final attempt to stay warm. Yet deep inside, a flicker of life remained, fragile but unbroken. The storm roared above, merciless, and the night stretched endlessly. But fate was already moving in silence, weaving a path that would change everything. For even in the darkest storms, destiny sometimes whispers of hope. Days of wandering had left the puppy's body fragile. His legs buckled each time he tried to stand. He searched puddles for drops of water, scraps from the gutter, even a leaf, anything that could fill the hollow ache inside him. The city had no mercy. The storm washed away even the smallest crumbs he might have found. The sound of thunder seemed to echo his despair. His whimpers were lost in the chaos of wind and rain. There was no one listening, no hand to reach for him, no voice to call his name. Only the storm and his own weakening heartbeat. For a moment, he lay still, chest rising and falling in shallow waves, wondering if this was the end. Yet there was something stubborn inside him. A spark of survival whispering, "Hold on." And so, even as the rain poured harder, he raised his head one more time, blinking through the darkness. Somewhere, somehow, he hoped the world had not forgotten him. The storm raged, merciless, as if testing the tiny creature's will to exist. The puppy stumbled forward, collapsing again into the mud. His small frame trembled violently. His breaths were uneven, desperate, fading. He pressed his face into the ground, ready to surrender. Perhaps it would be easier to let go, to drift into the silence beyond hunger and cold. His eyes fluttered shut, and then a sound pierced through the storm. Not thunder, not rain. Footsteps, slow but steady, approaching through the curtain of water. His ears twitched. His eyes opened halfway, barely able to see. A faint beam of light cut through the darkness, swaying as it grew closer. For the first time in days, the puppy felt the presence of another being. His tiny heart quickened, unsure if it was fear or hope. He tried to move but couldn't. His body had given all it had. Still, he waited, fragile and trembling, as the footsteps drew near. Through the downpour, a figure appeared. A man, hunched beneath the storm, a backpack strapped to his shoulders, a flashlight cutting through the darkness. He stopped suddenly, his light falling upon the small bundle curled in the corner of the street. The man's breath caught. "Oh God," he whispered, his voice nearly lost in the rain. "You're just a baby." Kneeling down, he reached out slowly, afraid the fragile life before him might vanish if he moved too fast. The puppy lifted his eyes, meeting the stranger's gaze. In that moment, the storm seemed to quiet, just for a heartbeat. Their worlds collided in silence. The man set aside his raincoat, carefully wrapping the trembling body. The puppy felt warmth again, for the first time in what felt like forever. His body sagged into the man's arms, surrendering not to death, but to trust. The storm raged on, but something had shifted. Hope had arrived, disguised as a weary traveler. The man carried the puppy close to his chest, shielding him from the storm with every step. His raincoat draped over the small creature, trapping what little heat remained. Inside those tired arms, the puppy felt a heartbeat. Steady, strong, comforting. A rhythm reminding him he was not alone anymore. The traveler whispered softly, words lost in the storm yet powerful enough to calm a frightened soul. They reached a small cabin on the edge of the woods, a forgotten shelter against the night. Inside, the air was dry, though the wind howled at the wooden walls. The man set the puppy down near the fireplace and struck a match. Soon, flames flickered, filling the room with golden light. The puppy blinked, his weak eyes catching the glow. He felt warmth seep into his body, melting the chill of the storm. It was not food. It was not safety forever. But it was the first step. It was hope. The fire crackled softly, painting the walls in shades of orange. The man dried the puppy with a rag, carefully, gently, as though every touch might break him. He poured warm milk into a tin bowl, sliding it close. The puppy sniffed, hesitated, then licked. One drop, then another, until he drank with desperate hunger. The man watched with quiet relief, his eyes softening. "That's it, little one. You're safe now." The puppy's body still shook, but less violently. His belly, though still empty, was no longer hollow. He looked up, meeting the man's gaze once more. The silence between them was different now. No longer empty, but filled with understanding. In that small cabin, in the middle of a merciless storm, two lonely souls had found each other. Outside, the rain still pounded. Inside, a fragile bond began to grow, fragile yet powerful. Hope was no longer a whisper. It was alive, flickering in the firelight. Night deepened. The fire's glow softened into embers. The puppy curled into the man's lap, his body finally resting. His tiny chest rose and fell with a rhythm that spoke of trust. The man leaned back, exhaustion in his eyes, yet a faint smile lingered on his face. In that silence, no words were needed. They had both known loneliness. They had both tasted despair. And now, they shared a fragile comfort neither thought they would find again. The puppy twitched in sleep, perhaps dreaming of warmth and safety. The man adjusted his coat around him, protecting him even in dreams. The storm outside still howled, but inside, peace had found its place. Two strangers, one human and one animal, bound by the storm's cruelty, but transformed by kindness. In that silence, they became companions. Not by choice, not by promise, but by survival. And sometimes that is enough. Morning light crept through the cracks of the cabin. The storm had broken, leaving behind a quiet world washed clean. The puppy stirred, blinking at the warmth of the sun. His legs wobbled as he stood, unsteady but determined. He sniffed the air, tail twitching, a gesture of life returning. The man chuckled softly, kneeling down to pat his head. "You made it," he said. The puppy's eyes glowed brighter, the fear replaced with curiosity. Outside, the earth glistened with dew. The air smelled of new beginnings. The puppy stepped out of the cabin, paws sinking into soft ground. For the first time, he felt the world not as an enemy, but as something to explore. The man followed close, watching as the fragile creature began his second chance. The storm had tried to break him, but he had survived. And survival now meant more than just living. It meant beginning again. The man whistled softly, and the puppy turned, bounding back with surprising energy. He leapt toward the man, landing clumsily at his feet. The traveler laughed, bending down to scoop him up. In that moment, their bond was sealed. The storm had brought them together. Hunger, fear, and despair had forged something stronger than either could have imagined. They were no longer alone. They walked along the muddy path, side by side, leaving footprints that intertwined. The puppy glanced upward often, his eyes following the man with trust. And the man, though tired from his own journey, felt a weight lift. Saving the puppy had reminded him of something he had forgotten. The strength found in connection, the healing found in giving. The storm had nearly taken a life, but it had given two lives a new purpose. Their paths were no longer separate. Together, they walked into a brighter horizon. As they journeyed onward, the world stretched wide before them. The storm was now only a memory, its roar replaced by birdsong and the rustle of leaves. The puppy trotted close, his small paws steady, his eyes alive with joy. The man looked ahead, but often glanced down, smiling at the companion he had not sought but had been destined to find. Life had tested them both, in different ways. Yet here they were, survivors not of chance but of kindness. The puppy had been starving in the storm, moments from surrender. But he had found more than food, more than shelter. He had found a reason to live. And the man, weary and wandering, had found a reminder that even in the darkest times, compassion can guide us back to light. Sometimes, heroes do not wear capes. Sometimes, heroes walk on four paws, carrying hope in their trust. Together they moved forward. Together they lived.